Good, good afternoon. My name is Rodolfo Jesus Cruz Rebollar, and today I will present my final project of the subject 21st Century Science and Technology, which is called Is There Such a Thing as Too Much Gaming? First of all, the justification consists that in general terms, the relevance of this project consists mainly in the fact that as a society, we like to play video games when we have free time as one of the most common ways of having fun with others and also getting rid of big amounts of stress, which also can have positive implications in the lives of many people, no matter their age and type preferences, such as to strengthen relationships with other people, as well as to improve our cognitive abilities for solving a specific type of puzzles and riddles, in which it is necessary to discover certain key elements that are hidden and given indirectly through a series of cognitive processes in order to come up with creative and original strategies for solving them. Furthermore, video games also have their counterpart because when we play them in excess, they can cause serious problems in our daily life, particularly physical ones such as insomnia, intense fatigue, high artery pressure, risk of heart diseases, among others. Thus, it's important to inform about the risks of the excess of playing video games in order to put an end to this situation that can become an alarming problem for our daily life. Then, the theoretical framework consists in the fact that, that as we mentioned previously, video games in excess can negatively affect our daily lifestyle in a wide variety of ways, which one of the first types to be perceived by others are the physical ones, due to the fact that they are often represented in form of poor performance either in school, with bad grades which involves often to fail courses, and in the job context normally feeling tired and doing things less effectively because our level of motivation and energy would be less than if we were in normal conditions because sleeping is an essential part in order to guarantee our correct physiological functioning, as well as to perform appropriately in all the tasks we have to do during the day, as well as exercise, especially because while we are sleeping, our brain recharges for the next day. Therefore, if we have the appropriate sleep quality, as well as the correct time frame for sleeping each night accordingly to our age, which could be 6, 8, or 10 hours, our neurons will work more effectively and will be able to think in a quicker way, learn quicker, and improve our memory to take better decisions. Thus, in this story, we will be analyzing how does a specific exercising time in minutes, either derived from video games or from any other source of daily physical activity, affects our heart rate, which is the number of times our heart beats in a time frame of 1 minute, and how much does it increase or decrease when the time doing it increases in an equal number of minutes per data collection with a constant increment of 4 minutes. Then, in this, in this experiment or study, the principal variables, which are the independent, dependent, and control variables, are for the first type, the dependent variable will be the heart rate of a person in beats per minute while doing physical activity or physical exercise in constant time periods of 4 minutes each one, getting a total sum of 40 minutes of exercise and registering the heart rate every 4 minutes. Then for the independent variable, it will consist mainly in the number of minutes that will have elapsed before taking note of each data after a time frame of 4 minutes between each registration, giving a total sum of 40 minutes of a total physical activity, generating a general total of 10 registrations in 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40 minutes respectively. Finally, regarding the control variables, they will consist in, first of all, the time frame between each new registration and the fact of exercising once more in order to register the remaining data, as well as the exercise bike pedals tension, which will keep constant during the whole experiment or test. Also, we will be using the same exercising instrument, which is the same bike with the same size, which involves having the same length and width with the same identical components of the bike, which are one, one single screen, the same color, and the same amount of tension while we do exercise. Then, regarding the methodology and materials required for this test or study, in first place we have the necessary materials for building the prototype, which are a ruler of 30 centimeters, 1/4 of shell paper, green and red colors, blue and black markers, as well as a cutter in order to cut two pieces of equal length and width, and finally hot silicone gun with silicone bars in order to paste the two parts together by making sure that we paste the two aligned fragments of shell paper before the silicone dries. Then, regarding the experiment of this study, the main resources that will be needed are an exercise bike of equal length and width, as well as an application for a smartphone called Health, which in Spanish means salud, which will measure the number of beats per minute that a person has during the complete process of exercise in beats per minute, as well as sports wear, only to feel comfortable during the exercising time. However, this is only an optional resource. In addition, the main instruments or tools that we'll use to make precise measurements when building the prototype are the 30 centimeters rule, the cutter, as well as a pencil for making a line that indicates where do we have to make the cut. By following the straight line with the support of both our ruler and any other object in our workspace that can function as an extra base in order to support the shell paper in the correct position while we are cutting it, and the ruler in order to get a certain amount of support while we are measuring the centimeters that each part of the two equal parts must have in order to be identical to each other before cutting the main piece in two halves of equal length and width. Then we write the numbers that correspond to each axis of the prototype, as well as the variables that are being treated on each axis, with red and black markers respectively, including the tenths, which go from point 0.1 up to point 0.9 before and after arriving to a specific integer value, and finally pasting the two halves of shell paper together with hot silicone. Then, regarding the experimental design, the methodology for this study will consist in the fact that in April 25th, 2020 at 3:30 p.m., I will be doing exercise in a time frame of 40 minutes on an exercise bike that will have certain levels of tension on its pedals, as well as a small digital screen in which will appear specific numeric values, such as the number of expended calories and the speed at which I will be moving while I'm exercising. In addition, I will also be registering my heart frequency every 4 minutes after each segment of exercise that will last 4 minutes approximately, and taking note in a notebook of the different values that the app of health will calculate according to the amount of effort and time that I will invest on doing physical activity. Thus, I will do the process previously mentioned a total of 10 times and register a sum of 10 values, which will correspond to each data registration on a written table, which in the first column will have the number of exercising minutes, whereas in the second column it will have the heart frequency or heart rate in beats per minute. As for the data collection and descriptive statistics, we have two tables. In the first one we have measures of central tendency in which we have a mean of 175.1, a median of 176.5, and a mode of 173. And in measures of spread, we have a variance of 108.5, and a standard deviation of 10.4, and a range of 36. Then in the second table, we have in the first column time in minutes, and in the second column heart rate in beats per minute. For the first column, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40 minutes. And in heart rate, we have 148 for 4 minutes, 173 for 8, 183 for 12, 184 for 16, 181 for 20, 178 for 24, 175 for 28, 173 for 32, 174 for 36, and 182 for 40. In general terms, based on the previous obtained values for both central tendency and spread measures, we can clearly see that most part of the obtained values falls between the interval falls on the interval between 148 and 182 due to the fact that in some intervals there is that in that same interval there is approximately 75% of the numbers that conform our dataset, which at the same time leads us to the point of observing that even though there is a very significant segment of the total data between 148 and 182 with respect to the mean or average, the numbers in our set of data tend to be located on our near position with respect to the mean or average, which in this case is 175.1 bits per minute, with a certain amount of uncertainty in the values, principally due to random error because in the moment we are measuring and collecting the data from specific observations, we tend to take a little longer time to react and register each value that we obtain throughout the complete process of experimentation, and also to be aware that the three central tendency measures, mode, mean, and median, in general terms, indicate that in most cases our heart rate can increase significantly, not only due to the amount of effort invested on doing each kind of physical activity, but also to some other factors, which can be either internal or external according to the circumstances of certain environments. Nevertheless, the values of the spread measures indicate that even though our data values tend to be high, they are very far from the average value, having a standard deviation of 10.4 bits per minute, which certainly means that due to deeper psychological reasons such as physical resistance, metabolism, breathing rate, among others, our body needs a bigger amount of oxygen to send to our bloodstream in order to be capable of sending more blood to specific organs that help us with exercising. For example, muscles, to create an equilibrium between the necessary amount of oxygen needed for a particular activity and the amount of effort invested particularly by us to do that same activity. Considering that the required effort may vary according to each person, therefore we have a significantly big range of 36, which indicates us the number of possible numeric values, which applied to this situation means that we have a total of 36 possible values, between which the most part of the numbers obtained will be located, leaving simultaneously very few or even none values outside that range, as long as the body and environmental conditions are the appropriate ones in order to maintain the values in the usual range or interval. Then we have the analysis with inferential statistics. In this type of analysis, we can observe two different graphs. The first graph is a column or bar chart, and the second graph is a line chart. And in the other hand, regarding differential statistics, in the bar and line charts, we can notice that the general probability of having a heart rate equal or greater than 160 beats per minute is 0.9 out of 1, which in percentage form is equal to having 90% of probability out of 100, which indicates that more of the time, regardless of our principal purpose of the time, when we begin the exercise session, in which we tend to have a bigger heart rate, when we are doing a certain type of exercising activity, such as hop, ride a bicycle, and many others more, than we were bicycle, and many others more than when we are actually in normal conditions in which we aren't doing an uncommon or significant amount of physical effort in order to perform strong kinds of movements, especially those that require often consuming a larger amount of food and nutrients, with the main purpose of having the necessary energy in most parts of our body to do those movements, which, in the opposite way, instead of adding more energy to our body, they use that energy to perform all the essential tasks for our whole body, but mainly for those parts which are extremely important for our daily movement routines. Furthermore, another important fact regarding the graphs consists in the fact that the results obtained from them also show that in order for our heart rate to have raised up to a specific level, which is in the top 25.5% of possible heart rate values, according to the previous graphs, it is necessary that a time frame from 8.5 to 40 minutes have elapsed, which gives us an average time of 24.25 minutes in order to get to the highest levels of the graphs relating heart rate, which in the most recommended thing is to keep track of our heart rate values in case some anomalies generate or if we start to feel certain negative symptoms that are like an alert coming from our body telling us to do something in order to solve the situation in the most appropriate way. Before it gets even worse, even at the point of causing serious and mortal consequences by generating many incorrect functions in multiple organs of the body at the same time, and as a final consequence lead to death for not being treated on time with the right methods and persons to do it. Then we have the conclusions, which involve the results congruent with reported information in already existing literature regarding these subjects. In general terms, after the previous experiment was done, the results gotten from it proved that our heart rate increases each time we do exercise in many different forms, but it also can decrease if we take a break between each time frame of exercise before continuing forward to the next minutes, by letting our body recover a little from the last exercising time frame, and then continue with the next time frames, starting a little less tired at the beginning of each one. Also, the amount of time in minutes that we invest on doing it, the amount of effort that we need to do in order to do all the necessary movements correctly, as well as our physical resistance, which can be developed and improved by working hard and practicing any kind of activities that involve doing physical movement with distinct parts of the body. Nevertheless, in the existing literature that I investigated, there is also a clear relationship between the amount of time, in seconds, minutes, hours, etc., that a person does exercise and the increment in his or her heart rate. The more time passes, as well as if the person stops exercising for a moment and then resumes the exercise, including the fact that the physical resistance of each person apart from me can vary due to many factors, but especially those that are related with our daily lifestyle activities and how much time we invest in taking care of ourselves in order to take care of others in a possible future, in order to understand that in life we cannot do all the things by our own, but that also sometimes we will require of other people's help in order to perform our daily activities or to reach our personal, professional, social, or other types of goals in our daily life. As for the results, implications, and future research, finally, to conclude this project, the main implications or effects that the obtained results have on the general conclusion of this study consists principally in the fact that as a society it is very important to maintain a balanced and healthy lifestyle by doing some kinds of activities such as intellectual, physical, among others, in order to keep our body functioning correctly, by also making sure that when we are doing physical activity, we feel comfortable, as well as relaxed and happy with what we are doing, and also taking care of our physical conditions by occasionally taking a quick and general look to some of our vital signs. For example, heart rate, which is the objective of this study or project, breathing rate, among others, whose results can be easily obtained and seen by digital apps such as Health, which means salud in español, and in case of, no, of any other anomalies, go to a doctor as soon as possible. On the other hand, based on the previous results, future research projects can be guided by the fact that knowing people's heart rate often increases what they experience moderate or intense physical activity in order to investigate those customs or tendencies that people has had since many years ago and that still today affect our way of life in quite diverse ways, which can be either positive or negative depending on their specific intentions, as well as to continue exploring the area of medicine for getting to know more about the human heart and the multiple benefits, either in the short or long term, especially in the long term that having good heart conditions may have in order to create a healthy lifestyle involving positive actions and elements simply derived from the desire of being healthy, with the purpose of being able to help those others that aren't completely healthy by motivating them to recognize their problems and to persuade them to go with the doctor if the situation requires it to get the most appropriate treatment specifically for the disease they are suffering as soon as possible before it gets even worse for the person's well-being. And finally, in order to get more information about heart rate, exercise, as well as other habits for having a healthy lifestyle, you can practically enter the following links in order to get more information about this study and investigation. Thank you for your attention.